Hi everyone, my name is Rob, and in today's Our Avrame Home video, I wanted to talk to you all about house wrap and strapping and how we put it on our house. First thing I wanted to point out about the product that we used, this house wrap is an air barrier, it is not a vapor barrier. And the thing that we actually really like about that is that if for whatever reason any moisture got trapped inside of the wall, inside the truss of the house, if any moisture got in there, the moisture is allowed to escape the building, but it's not able to be penetrated by moisture. So if, let's say something were to fail on the roof, or where our plumbing stack's gonna go, where there's gonna be a boot coming out of the roofing. If that were to leak or something, if water did get in, it would hit this air barrier and shed all the way down to the bottom of the roof, and we wouldn't have to worry about it getting into our insulation and then through that and into our actual living space. So we really like that. We like that it breathes. It'll help the house to breathe as well. Another thing that I really liked about this specific air barrier that came with the kit was the size of it. When we built this, actually this solar shed that I'm standing in right now, it came with an 8-foot or a 9-foot roll of Tyvek or Typar, whichever brand it is. And it's awkward and it's big, and to pull it tight, it can be really difficult, especially if you're doing it on your own or just one other person. What I really liked about the product that came with the kit was it was only like, I think it was like 1 meter in length, or like 3 feet. Made it really easy to make sure that the air barrier was super tight. When it came time to actually start putting it on the house, we made sure to start at the bottom, because you want to work from the bottom to the top so that with each subsequent roll or length, it overlaps the other one, so that if water ever does get onto it, it will shed all the way down. If you overlap it the other way, starting from the top to the bottom, it would get inside your house. And so we started, like I said, at the bottom. Our first question was, how many rows could we roll out at a time? And for the first run that we did, I actually cut the strapping down. We did just 1 roll, and we very quickly chose to do 3 rows, because if we did 3 rows of the house wrap, that was 1 full length of vertical strapping that we could do, and after the vertical strapping to do the horizontal, which brings me to that next point of it. In this kit, there are 2 different layers of strapping. There's a vertical section, and that section goes directly on top of each of the different trusses. Then after the vertical strapping, there's a horizontal strapping as well. The vertical one, I called it a 2x2. I can't remember the metric measurements. I think it was 45 mil by 30 mil. And then the horizontal one, I called it a 1x4, which it was truly like a 1-inch by 4-inch piece of strapping. The combination of the vertical strapping and the horizontal strapping allows for good airspace between the actual house wrap and the steel that's going to go on top of the strapping, which means that from the very bottom of the building all the way up to the peak, any air or moisture, whatever that gets trapped inside there, will go straight up out the top and get vented out the top of the building, which is excellent. A huge amount of air can travel through the top of the house. As we went about installing our house wrap, I did run into a few problems. The first one was that since we were framing in the coldest months of winter, when we were installing the house wrap, the tape that came with the house wrap wouldn't stick. It was too cold, and the house wrap, as soon as we lay it down, it would get frost on it, and the tape just wasn't wanting to stick. And the tape is important for making sure that you actually have all of your overlapping joints fully covered. And so what we ended up doing was to actually just keep all the tape and save it for when it actually warms up. And our plan is to tape the inside of all of those joints once it's no longer winter. We were told though that a helpful tip is that I wish I would have known sooner, is that if you keep the tape inside of a warm place, it'll still work even if it's in the middle of winter. And so if you're building in the middle of winter, try that. Try just keeping your tape warm, and maybe that'll work better for you. The second problem that wasn't really a problem, it was just something that it would have been nice if I could have done it differently, is that with our kit came all of the hardware to install all of the strapping. The issue was that all of the hardware that came with it were just hand nails that required just a hammer. Even though I have a pneumatic framing nailer, the nails that came with the kit were just hand nails, and so that meant a lot of just swinging and swinging and swinging of the hammer. And I am happy to report that since we've purchased our kit and Avrame responded to some of the feedback from some of the people who are building their own kits, they no longer send the nails because they've realized that so many contractors will use different nails for different nail guns and different applications, and a lot of the hardware was oftentimes just left at the end of the build untouched. And so that's actually a really good to know for future builds, is that the hardware, you can just purchase it depending on what tools you have available. And so that's something that's a great improvement for the future of Avrame's builds. Okay, well, that is a dormer ready for siding and for steel, which feels so good that we can get both of those things prepped. We're starting the steel roofing tomorrow, so now I basically just have to replicate this on the other dormer. Feels really good. And so yeah, that's basically it. Row by row, we worked our way up to the peak of the house, strapped every single square inch of the building, wrapped it all in. We made sure that all of our house wrap had a good overlap. The actual air barrier, it has a dotted line that you make sure that when you're putting your second row on that it overlaps perfectly. It was all stapled, it was all nailed down, it is all good to go. And now the outside of the building is ready for us to get started on installing steel and siding to go on, and I'm so excited to see how it's all gonna look when that all gets tied together. Thank you for tuning into this video. Be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for more updates about our build.